Through the ghoul-guarded gateways of slumber, past the wan-mooned abysses of night, I have lived o'er my lives without number. I have sounded all things with my sight, and I struggle and shriek ever at daybreak, being driven to madness with fright. I have whirled with the earth at the dawning, when the sky was a vaporous flame. I have seen the dark universe yawning, where the black planets roll without aim, where they roll in their horror unheeded, without knowledge or luster or name. I have drifted over seas without ending, under sinister gray clouded skies, that the many-forked lightning is rending, that resound with hysterical cries, with the moans of invisible demons, that out of the green waters rise. I have plunged like a deer through the arches of the hoary primordial grove, where the oaks feel the presence that marches, and stalks on where no spirit dares rove. And I flee from a thing that surrounds me, and leers through dead branches above. I have stumbled by cave-ridden mountains that rise barren and bleak from the plain. I have drunk of the fog-foetid fountains that ooze down to the marsh and the main. And in hot-cursed tarns I have seen things I care not to gaze on again. I have scanned the vast ivy-clad palace. I have trod its untenanted hall, where the moon rising up from the valleys shows the tapestries things on the wall, strange figures discordantly woven that I cannot endure to recall. I have peered from the casements in wonder at the mouldering meadows around, at the many-roofed village laid under the curse of a grave-girdled ground. And from rows of white urn-carven marble I listen intently for sound. I have haunted the tombs of the ages. I have flown on the pinions of fear, where the smoke-belching Erebus rages, where the jokels loom snow-clad and drear, and in realms where the sun of the desert consumes what it never can cheer. I was old when the pharaohs first mounted the jewel-decked throne of the Nile. I was old in those epochs uncounted, when I and I only was vile, and man, yet untainted and happy, dwelt in bliss on the far Arctic isle. Oh, great was the sin of my spirit, and great is the search of its doom. Not the pity of heaven can hear it, nor can respite be found in the tomb. Down the infinite eons come beating the wings of unmerciful gloom. Through the ghoul-guarded gateways of slumber, past the wan-mooned abysses of night, I have lived o'er my lives without number. I have sounded all things with my sight. And I struggle and shriek ere at daybreak, being driven to madness with fright. To start your venture into the fray, first you settle at the end of the day. plead to prepare you for what you may see. You thank him for placing the fruits on the tree. And as the ticking takes you further below, into the further you go. You light your home with a single flame to guide you out and far from declaim. Away from the smoke and what you may see, to flee back to safety, the light is the key. And as the ticking takes you further below, into the further you go. Close your eyes and sharpen your mind, for all weariness you leave behind. Any links to love and the world must be shed, for what lies below longs to hide in your head. And as the ticking takes you further below, into the further you go. Meditate for an hour and a second. Keep your mind here and refrain from flexion. Contemplate the further and what you may see. Let your mind open and your soul be free. And as the ticking takes you further below, into the further you go. As you steady in this state, explore and venture, but do not wait. For any company you decided to stem, go on without. In here you can't see them. And as the ticking takes you further below, into the further you go. Take the candle you lit before, and venture out of the nearest door. Your sanctuary has gone and your home disappeared. Welcome to the further, and all that you've feared. And as the ticking takes you further below, into the further you go. Normality is now to see blinking red lights, near and around you in the curling rise of yellow smoke and fog you were sure definitely was not there before. And as the ticking takes you further below, into the further you go. Your ears and the eternal night plays tricks, that the faucet overflows with the waters of Styx. The reddest lights continue to gore, as the smoke leads you to the front of his door. And as the ticking takes you further below, into the further you go. A warning to all adventurers beware, the bodiless eyes bid a scarlet glare, to alert that you're here to their invisible peers. Behind its door their warnings he hears. And as the ticking takes you further below, into the further you go. If you grow scared, your journey must stop. The further comes alive to bargain a swap of their empty blackness for your beating heart. Go on through the door for the end to start. And as the ticking takes you further below, deeper into the further you go. On the other side of the gated way, the flames of hell much further away, hideous thoughts and smells abound. Their faces spin around and round. And as the ticking takes you further below, into the further you go. They stare out at you from a single frame, their mouths moving quietly and uttering blame and hate for you and all that you've done. You'll feel to end, your mind will run. I counted 3 the times I went. In a tall mirror their faces bent and curved around like a painted frown that one could find on the face of a clown. These are the faces of the people you've lost, the ones you envisioned and the ones that cost you heartache and longing for months on end. Your thoughts of goodbye up to heaven you'd send, But no, here they are, they swirl in the mirror. Down in the further, life becomes dearer than anything that could have sparked the idea to share a midnight somewhere but here. In front of the glass, you lose your mind, crouched in the dark, the door behind. You'll hear it slam shut, regardless of luck. Inside the further, you're stuck. In the beginning, they said I was sick, but I got worse and I got worse quick. Then they said that I would die, but nobody could tell me why. I coughed up blood, a sticky black, and swallowed pills by the pack. Wires hooked up in my veins, dreading all my aches and pains. Sitting, crying through the night, they said that I would lose the fight. And then, miraculously, I was well. I'd dodged the Reaper's tolling bell. But still, I had a road to go. Pain, depression, feeling low. But none of them could ever tell that I was still inside my hell. The sickness spread into my soul, hot as any burning coal, and deep within I was still dead, from the sickness inside my head. But everybody laughed and smiled, said that I had had it mild, claimed I was a sight to see, that I was lucky as could be. But then the sickness claimed my heart, and a change began to start. Suddenly, the world turned black, with the sickness that came back. My heart was slowing down its beat. In my head, this horrid heat. All I wanted to do was bite. 'Twas the only thing that felt quite right. Ripping, tearing, chewing flesh. They taste better when they're fresh. Now they all curse and shout, the apocalypse without a doubt. Patient Zero I've been named. For the zombies I am blamed. But I simply cannot help myself. I did not choose to lose my health. This all began when I got sick, and then got worse, and got worse quick. Gaily bedight, a gallant knight, in sunshine and in shadow, had journeyed long, singing a song, in search of El Dorado. But he grew old, this knight so bold, and o'er his heart a shadow fell as he found no spot of ground that looked like El Dorado. And as his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim shadow. "Shadow," said he, "where can it be, this land of El Dorado?" "Over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow. Ride, boldly ride," the shade replied, "if you seek for El Dorado." How dull the wretch whose philosophic mind disdains the pleasures of fantastic kind, whose prosy thoughts the joys of life exude, and wreck the solace of the poet's mood. Young Zeno, practiced in the Stoic's art, rejects the language of the glowing heart, dissolves sweet nature to a mess of laws, condemns the effect whilst looking for the cause, freezes poor Ovid in an iced review, and sneers because his fables are untrue. In search of hope, the hopeful zealot goes, but all the sadder Tums, the more he knows. Stay, vandal sophist, whose deep lore would blast the grateful legends of the storied past, whose tongue in censure flays the embellished page, and scorns the comforts of a dreary age, would strip the foliage from the vital bough, till all men grow as wisely dull as thou. Happy the man whose fresh, untainted eye discerns a pantheon in the spangled sky, finds sylphs and dryads in the waving trees, and spies soft Notus in the southern breeze. For whom the stream a cheering carol sings, while reading music by the fountain rings. To whom the waves of Nereid tale confide, till friendly presence fills the rising tide. Happy is he who, void of learning's woes, the eternal life of bodied nature knows. I scorn the sage that tells me it but seems, and flout his gravity in sunlight dreams. It wasn't his drink from the party where the tranquilizers were hid. The cocktail on the cocktail napkin is what gently closed the lid. What's one more reveler out cold in a culture of thrills and excess? The spring cleaning partnership was there to clean up the mess. Nobody's going to find this skip. Nobody's going to care. Truer words were never said. Nobody was already there. Nobody struck without warning, and somebody fell to the ground. The agents tried to defend their prize, but nobody won this round. He woke to a note on his nightstand. The next time you're out, take care. 1 minute, nobody stood in the hall. The next, nobody was there. Everybody needs help sometimes, and nobody answers the call. Everybody has to be nobody once, or nobody will be at all. Hell isn't full of monsters. I've been to hell and back. I've seen the mask that hell hides in, sized inside a sinking cement ground covered to the brim in human blood spilt by others who smile with jovial glee as they rip and rim of others in the place that hearkens cruelty. The outer darkness is called the outer darkness not because of what happens inside, but because of what spills out. Light fleeing rapidly from the cracking shell, and sin skipping along, chasing the light to where it leads. To an intricate design of motorways and signs, slipping into sleeping homes of suspecting children, begging their watchers to let the light drip through the cracks just enough to let them see the sin that came along with it. Suspecting children learn how to live by seeing the sin, sensing the patterns it holds within, and watching its ways, all the while learning how to sense its smiles. And once you learn how to run from sin, you hide under the cloth of dark, soothing the cracks by dabbing it with holy water soaked into the waltz you play. A waltz that spins in endless loops. We humans use it to justify the lies we tell, and convince ourselves that hell is full of monsters, of horned spiders, of gnarled fires ripping into the shadows. The truth is that hell is full of humans, only deformed by the ripped-off skin, blood hugging the ground stroking the unseen gas limping into their mouths. Without a thought, they breathe in the fumes we used to call toxicity. In this city, people smile all the while they walk along assuming hell is just a fire pit. Well, I've been in it. Don't worry. I'm your friend. I'll back you up to the very end. Our bond is like not quite any other. Were we so close, you could be my brother. When we first met that day, and I found you lying on the ground, I told you it would be okay. At that moment, I knew we were bound. And then you went home, but I just couldn't stay away. You told me it was getting weird, but you couldn't keep me at bay. You still had to go to school, and I was wrapped so tightly to you like yarn on a spool. Our friendship couldn't be taken lightly. You finally snapped at me, telling me to leave. Then you ran, leaving me be, leaving me alone to grieve. Though you were away, my mind couldn't bear. I thought about you all day. You don't know how much I care. I started thinking of ways of keeping you down here, alone with me, my dear. I started to follow you, even studied your diet. I think for a while you knew, now, about keeping you quiet. You approached me one afternoon. You threatened to call the cops. I told you to look to the moon. You turned, asked what, your neck in knots. I admit I hit you harder than I originally thought. Now to my basement you must charter. Look at all this nice rope I bought. Oh, you're finally awake. Upside down you hang. In a dark basement you bake. You hear an accidental clang. Whoops, I said. I had dropped my knife. Almost cut off my foot. That would have ruined my life. I only want to be your friend. You say you don't roll that way. Friends to the end. I'm going to make you stay. You look scared. Said you were sorry. We'll start over. Our friendship to mend. I whispered, "Don't be scared, Molly." I grabbed your throat. Friends to the end. Well, that was years ago. Looking back on it, I do regret. So fast your life did go. We could have married, I bet. However, you're still here. Sitting here next to me. Just as beautiful, my dear. A happy couple we'll be. Though the stitches are deterring, sleeping with you isn't bad. I find playing with them alluring. I hope, at me, you're not mad. More than friends we became. At the moment I heard your name. Regardless, don't worry. I'm your friend. And we'll be together. And we'll be together to the very end. The thing in the woodpile shuddered and groaned. The thing in the woodpile heaved and moaned. The thing in the woodpile cried and wept. The thing in the woodpile slept. I heard calls from the hall for more wood. I froze and then prayed as I should. While the thing in the woodpile slept, I shook and I trembled, then crept back to the tavern with nary a stick. I told the drunk men who were wary of tricks. I warned them, I did. They cried, "Jape." Then 6 laughs as 6 chairs went scrape. Their mugs left behind came 6 burly men. Watch our card hands, you cowardly hen." And off went the troop to go deal out fists to the thing in the woodpile's midst. All night we waited, the barkeep and I. We heard not a shout, not one yell or cry, till dawn broke, and there amongst the sticks, not one thing in the woodpile, but 6. Below the thunders of the upper deep, far, far beneath in the abysmal sea, his ancient, dreamless, uninvaded sleep, the kraken sleepeth, faintest sunlights flee about his shadowy sides, above him swell huge sponges of millennial growth and height, and far away into the sickly light, from many a wondrous grot and secret cell, unnumbered and enormous polypi winnow with giant arms the slumbering green. There hath he lain for ages, and will lie, battering upon huge sea worms in his sleep, until the latter fire shall heat the deep. Then once by man and angels to be seen, in roaring he shall rise, and on the surface die. As with everyone before me, a speech is made. Thus, it's given me time to reflect on the situation at hand. This overused steak is drenched in dry red, and the people before me have nothing better to do with their lives, it seems. I feel no sorrow for myself, as this has happened so often it was only a matter of time. My sadness rests with the public, whose brains have surely turned to mush. I look among them and realize how much I know. The farmer, his crops are rotting. The baker, her food never seems to preserve well. Mrs. Bartlett, her son is dying of tuberculosis. Mr. Matthews, his marriage will fall out very soon. And yet, here they all stand, gathered to watch a fellow human burn to ashes. The children have come out of school to observe. Parents take along their babies as though it is a show. "Back to the devil with you!" they cry as the executioner lights the holy flames. But how could I, when in fact Lucifer himself is among this crowd? Everywhere you look, you can see his face. In some spots, he's laughing, others, yelling. He's short over there, but in another place he's tall. He's a man, he's a woman, he's a child. And truthfully, I am just another Lucifer. They just can't realize we all share the same face. When I was a child of only 3, the rotted man came for me. Late one night from my open door, he slowly crept across the floor. He took me by the hand and said, "I'll save you from this life of dread." We left the house in the early morn, and took his carriage of blackened thorn. We rode for hours through thick dense fog, to a darkened unlit swamp-filled bog, where topless trees with hanging moss were shields from the unseen winter frost. were shields from the unseen winter frost. The thick wet heat from the dense cool air crept up your back and through your hair. He took me to his house of bones, on a path laid with cobblestones. Upon his door hung a head of a child with hair of fiery red. His hall was bathed in blood-red tile. The walls were stacks of flesh in piles. He told me of his protective view, and begged that I should join him too. He smiled, and through his rotted lips I saw 1,000 children's fingertips. He promised me the world would pay, and told me that I could stay. Then we entered a smaller room, and the rotted man gave me a red balloon. Then I saw my mom through the tinted glass. The man with her was talking fast. The tears were pouring from her eyes. The man then held her while she cried. Then the rotted man did the strangest thing. He sat down with me and began to sing. A soft, nice tune that filled my head with puppy dogs and fresh-baked bread. It was then I noticed that the rotted man was simply old and had a tan. And then my mom burst in the room, the feel of warmth, her sweet perfume. She hugged me tight and swore to me, from here on out, Dad would let us be. No more bruises, no more fights, no more screaming in the night. The rotted man had saved our lives by taking those who beat their wives, and children that cry when they're dropped, and are beaten senseless until they stop. I thank the rotted man a lot, and never have I forgot that the thing I feared saved my life. They had found my father with a knife. There are real horrors on this earth. Some are subjected to them at birth. We were saved by a man made of rot. I was lucky, but many are not. In the dark, where evil sleeps, where sanity is useless trash, I tell a tale to give you creeps, and inspire true fear of things that slash. On a quiet All Hallows Eve, when rain did drizzle from the sky, 2 siblings from their home did leave, not dressed as ghosts, but end was nigh. While friends of theirs did candy find among the houses that they passed, the siblings were of different mind. To another house they hurried fast. They had been promised a lovely thing by a man with long, sharp teeth. If they came at midnight's ring, they'd raise their mother who sleeps beneath. The ritual was long and harsh. Twice they fainted dead away. Their blood was marking every hearth. When lit they marked the spirit's way. And in a scream and rushing wind, one sibling stared upon the other, dead and fallen in their sin. He had not seen their risen mother. From the hearth's not blackened grate, a crawling figure made of ash pulled herself in and sealed the fate of her 2 children as she moved fast. The living child gazed on in horror as Ash mother swallowed the dead sibling whole. Their mother was hungry, was now a terror. She smiled at the living child, bloody and cold. The other child ran, but did not get far. Teeth now sank into her arm and she shrieked. Ash Mother didn't notice her child's alarm, and with crunches she put her child to sleep. The Ash Mother waits in that house all alone. Her children are gone, and her hunger remains. Dare you enter, and you will atone. For the sins of the siblings you will feel their pain. In the dark, where evil sleeps, where sanity is useless trash, I've told a tale to give you creeps, and inspire true fear of things that slash. They say that monsters come only at night, that light will drive them away. But not all creatures follow this rule. Safety not certain during the day. He hides on the fringes of your vision, brief glimpses of the distorted. He slithers and writhes behind your eyes, reaches for you, limbs contorted. Before you know it, your children are taken, and now it's come down to you. His breath is oppressive, his presence acidic. He feels pity is undue. Suddenly trapped in his grasp so tight, you struggle to break yourself free. He laughs and he gurgles and he screeches with glee. He turns your head for you to see. Children are crying though their eyes are removed. They collapse, still and silent. His arms and legs bend, pulling you closer. The man's eyes dark and violent. He strikes and he cuts, your skin flays open. Your soul too weak to resist. This should not have happened if only you had listened. Never go into his forest.
I'm standing here, just outside your window, smoldering charcoal feet in these pits I've made, the fires of my flesh devouring all shadow. There is nothing that I am able to trade for a corpse to use for you as I desire. My cold heart burns, an eternal crusade. Oh, love, how I wait, still amid the fire, wreathed in heat and hate and fumes and flames. You whose perfection I profoundly desire. How many rages your mere silhouette tames. How often have I longed to share this love I feel. How much I long to cease these harmful games. Stubborn, but not having nerves of steel. I came by sunlight, my motives gainful. On hands and knees at your door I did kneel. Your screams of disgust, mentally painful. I hadn't spoken yet of your hold on my heart. Your views of me were not short of disdainful. Disgust from you made it too hard to start. I pleaded, begged for you to hear me out. Outright refusal near shredded me apart. But still, to you, my soul was truly devout. Again and again, I tried to win your love. You would learn my truth. I had no doubt. One night, icy water showered me from above. I screamed and saw that which broke my mind. You attacked. your hate I now had no doubts of. For me, no love from you could my eyes find. So heavy-hearted in the woods I would roam, until that one idea curled like smoke in my mind. I dashed across your fields amid the gloam, my flaming hands setting a sheep ablaze, and hurled its screaming carcass before your home. Out came you, a vision in the deepening haze. Your cries cut short, your eyes stricken and blue. I prayed for you to ever hold my gaze. But, oh, my need for your acknowledgement grew. A bigger, better thing I'd need to try. And then, I knew exactly what I would do. Under dulling stars and navy black sky, each flaming fist was plunged into your truck's hood. The engine sputtered, roared, and in a blaze did fry. The flames grew high and oily, as flames should. Turning sharply, you gaped in soft light. I smiled as your gaze revealed you understood. Out you ran at me, an angel in the night. I thought at long last you would finally hear. But still, by God, you ignored my plight. Said I want you to forever be near.
Stay back,
cried you, and you raced for the trees. I chased, blindly, the one person I held dear. I chased. I begged. No, love, stop running, please. You stopped within the greatest horror I have ever known. You stood in the icy river, going past your knees. You'll die! The ice would cut into your bone, screamed you.
I'd rather die than go to you and burn.
I refused to let you stand in there alone. Your hatred for me I still could not discern. And then I stepped inside, mind filled with terror. If I saved you from the river, surely your love I'd earn. The coals of my legs sizzled from my error, watching you creep to the opposing riverbank, an agony of which I was now the sole bearer. I screamed for you as I flailed and hissed and sank. My fading eyes watched as you ran and let me die. My flames went out, and my whole world went blank. Winter passed me, and spring gave birds reason to fly. 200 days, I lay where I'd fallen in repose, until that humid night, where lightning split the sky. Parched trees blazed, that river no longer flows. Engulfed by fresh flames, I let loose a scream. The flames licked my corpse until I again arose. The fire ignited my soul's greatest scheme. These hands set ablaze what you had yet again. Your house burned, your cries giving hope to my dream. Returning here to end all of this redundant pain. I'm standing here, just outside your window. You will burn like I, and at last, your love I'll gain.